shit. Hold on. Hold on. All right. Hold on. Am I alive? Ah. Hey, so welcome back. Sorry, technical difficulties. If you stuck around long enough to hear me use my colorful language when we were having problems, I apologize. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. And I think one of the issues that we keep talking about is these Epstein lists. And so the promise to release it has been done, but now they're going to hand it out through just a few people. So there's a few people that'll get access to that information, which doesn't make any sense to me at all. And then there was a letter that came out from Pam Bondi, and that letter states that, you know, that there's thousands of documents in New York related to the indictment of Epstein, and no one seemed to know about it. And then you had the whistleblower that came out and talked specifically about that before Kash Patel got into the FBI, that there were people inside the FBI that were literally burning documents. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about peak Hegseth and one of the things that in declassifying this information, it doesn't. Oh man, I can't get to the bottom. I'm trying to look at what's happening as it's all good. I mean, you have to make sure that you protect people inside of the Epstein list. Obviously, victims need to be protected. But then they talk about national security, and we can't release stuff on JFK, and we can't release stuff on MLK. Man, they've been dead for decades. So who is it that we're really protecting? We're protecting an institution. And should you protect an institution that is rotted to the core? The further we get down the line, the worse it gets. But we're going to be joined by Charlene Bollinger, is going to talk about vaccines today. We're going to talk about the truth about cancer. There's so much stuff that the government's been hiding from us in so many different ways. You have RFK Jr.'s MAHA agenda and where that's going. And so we're going to just dive into some things maybe we haven't talked about in a little bit. But before we do that, I want to point out the obvious. I want to be Captain Obvious before we go into any of that. And let's start by this. I put up something, 15 minutes ago. And you're going to look at it and go, all right, why is it that I'm pointing out the obvious? Do we have it, Apollo? Can we put it up? Here's the obvious. This is my analysis of Democrats. And there's an obvious disconnect. Why hasn't, this is what I said, why hasn't anyone just said it out loud? I mean, Democrats talk a big game, always sounding like they're the champions of the people. But the reality, their actions and results clash hard with their words. They love to slam the character of conservatives, Republicans, and anyone who doesn't buy their ideology. Yet that criticism fits them like a glove. Before I dive in, let me call out the Republican leadership too. They're too soft, too scared to label Democrats what they are. Damn near diabolical, dressed up their failures as virtues to fool the masses. And here's the breakdown. Let me just start at the top. Democrat-run disasters. Let's take a look at places they control. Education, dead last. Literally, dead last. Housing in these Democrat strongholds are a mess, crime-ridden, diseased, and locked in endless poverty. The school-to-prison pipeline that I talk about is all too real. Nearly 61% of incarcerated men come from this churn. Healthcare, okay, let's go there. Since the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, this is the big thing that Obama did, hit, costs have skyrocketed 1,200%. If you can believe it, healthcare companies are raking in profits up almost 800%. Well, care itself is a free-for-all. You don't even know what they can deny you for treatment for random reasons. You don't even know they can deny you for treatment for random reasons until you're on death's door. Fair wages, I haven't even started on that because I'm still fuming over the nerve of Democrats' claim that they care about people. Their zones are opportunity deserts, education wastelands, crime hotspots, and check this, food deserts plague 11 of the top 12 big cities, all run by selfish Democrat leadership. They push a boogeyman. So then when all else fails, they just point fingers. The KKK, historically Democrats, sure. Let's look at the Dixiecrats, the alt-right. No clue what that even means half the time. The American Nazi Party, a couple thousand nobodies rejected by everyone. These are the scapegoats, but they're smoke and mirrors compared to the real issue. The Republican contrast, meanwhile, the right, were just absolutely terrible. Their neighborhoods are safe, armed, and low on crime. Graduation rates soar. Education standards actually mean something, making Democrat-run flops look foolish. Opportunities, recruitment's everywhere. When's the last time, by the way, it's not in there, but when's the last time you've seen United Airlines in the inner city trying to recruit people to become pilots? They're not. Oh, and here's a stat to chew on. Minority graduation rates in Republican-led areas, minorities graduate in Republican-led areas at a rate 37 times higher than in Democrat-controlled ones. So we're terrible. Bottom line is, this is why the clueless back today's Democrats and why lackeys on here like the Krappenstein brothers lie with impunity. They don't even fake virtue anymore. They just lie. Their track record is a disaster, and all they've got the gall to preach while their cities crumble. The hypocrisy is glaring. The Republicans' silence doesn't help. So here's my question. It's simple. What's it going to take to call it like it is and stop the ridiculous from being debated? I'm genuinely curious how these monsters are allowed to even speak. You're welcome to take anything that I just wrote here, anything at all, and debate it. Debate it with me. Debate it with me. The Democrats, everything that they touch is garbage. Now they're out there just preaching and pushing and telling us, you can't look over here, you can't look over there. And by the way, this is not the people that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the blue blood Democrats that literally had an idea that progress, being progressive, meant progress. Getting away from and deciding that they were going to abandon the KKK and start supporting civil rights movements. We're going to talk about this and a whole lot more when we come back.
Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Okay, let's just do a quick pulse here. Everything that I just said about the Democrats. How is it they even have a platform? How is it that we're even talking about them? How is it that anything that they say right now, at any point, has any value to the people in our community? How do people stand up and say that, I'm a Democrat? I got into an argument yesterday, which is why I wrote that synopsis of, I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to write it down. I'm going to write down everything that I think related to the Democrats. I'm going to do some research and make sure I can grab information and it's rightful information. So I could go in and look at what Allied and United and Healthcare and Kaiser are making. And you know what, the Democrats, to their credit, and frankly, I don't believe this. I don't think anybody should be shot in the streets or executed. But when the United Healthcare CEO was gunned down in cold blood, the Democrats revered it. But it's a problem that they actually created. See, it used to be that you could go and get health care. It cost you $100 to $150. Your family would cost $300. Now those same policies are nearly $2,000. And they don't cover anything. They have a $6,000 deductible. And then we could tie back in big pharma. And we're going to talk to Charlene Bollinger about this specifically, is what does Make America Healthy Again mean? Like, what does it mean to literally tell the truth no matter where you go? Why is it that we have to be the Captain Obvious? We have to be the ones that are screaming from the rooftop. And then here's my bigger problem. Why is it that the talking heads don't talk about it that way? And why is it that platforms will cut out and ban people like me? Let's just talk about it. I mean, the Tate brothers, Andrew Tate and his brother were literally banned from the platform for X. They got let back on. Do you know what Alex Jones got let back on? Here's a guy that got sued for $1 billion. Let him back on. Joe Altman comes out, has people come to his house, literally try to kill his family. And anybody can go run the records. How many times from 2020 till now did the police have to show up to Joe Altman's home? You can go check it yourself. Freedom of Information Act. You can go in Colorado and run that yourself. It's not hyperbolic. How many people were arrested at Joe's house? How many times did Hazmat have to come to his house? Once. The FBI were there. Did they come talk to us? No. But I got banned from X. I got banned from Facebook. I got banned and or suppressed on nearly every platform. We don't want Joe Altman to have a voice. But you can go out there right now and you can listen to Andrew Tate, which, by the way, I'm not a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of about 50% of the things that he says. But on the ethics side, the fact that a woman, that their job is to submit themselves to the man. Look, I've been married a long time. My wife, 23 years we've been together. I can't imagine walking in and telling my wife, hey, Apollo, could you imagine me walking in and telling my wife, hey, let me just tell you how this is?
I don't know that I'd want to be there to see that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a partnership. The reason why I've been together 23 years and people go through like weddings and divorces and it is because they believe themselves to be the ones that are the arbiter of reality at all times. And there is no flexibility in how you communicate, or everything becomes an object. Every person becomes an object. And then there's the ones that are perpetually just not ever going to get married. Why? Because they're probably pretty shitty in a relationship. Let's go backwards. My kids are amazing. My wife's a pretty cool lady. Frankly, she's still hot. Sorry, I said it. Why is it that the feckless voices are given a platform? And people that speak truth. I mean, go and debate anything that I just said. And let's if you take out the last 4 years, Bobby Kennedy has been talking about vaccine injuries and the fact that Big Pharma has been getting away with a lot of stuff for a long time. We've been talking about the Epstein files since 2006. 2006. in essence, there could be an automatic declassification stamped on it because it's been so long. And yet we're now getting to the place where we're excited about getting the Epstein files. Maxine Grisling, what is her name?
Ghislaine
Maxwell. Yeah. She just went to prison, a couple years ago? Weinstein. 30 years he raped women and did whatever he wanted in Hollywood. Best friends with Oprah and the Clintons. Gets revered, put on a stage. And anybody that speaks out against them, they become the right-wing nut. They become the one that you have to be afraid of. Candace Owens. Candace Owens comes out and Macron's wife, turns out he's a man. She's a man. She has a huge story on the fact that you're married to a man. You've been lying to France for how long? The deviancy of nearly everywhere we look. And yet President Trump is the bad guy. President Trump says something flippantly, which we've all been guilty of, only he's caught on camera. And then they turn that into some crazy woman that says that he went into a department store and raped her in some back room and that she thinks rape is sexy. And it gets in there and she can't even remember the year it happened. She can't remember anything. And they're like, guilty for defamation. She named her cat Vagina. Every one of the interviews makes her look like a loon. And by the way, she's not an attractive woman. She wasn't an attractive woman 25 years ago. And yet that becomes the thing that we run towards. We debate the ridiculous. And people that speak truth and talk about what's really happening and the fact that the cancer medicines that are out there that are saving lives, you have Joe Rogan talking about it. You got all sorts of guys talking about it. Hey, listen, they got this thing called blue. Is it blue propylene? Did I say that right, Apollo?
Methylene blue. Methylene blue.
Methylene blue. Sorry. Propylene. I guess you wouldn't want to have propylene, would you? And yet we're not allowed to talk about it. You got fact checkers that kind of change the name of the game. Now we find out the USAID is paying a bunch of people to do what exactly? To create this deviancy? Here's what I want you to do. This is what they do. Here, I'm going to give you $40 million to sell your soul and to tell everyone that there are 35 different genders. I want you guys to feed people these things so that we can literally LARP in real time. Live action role playing. I can turn people into women. I can turn people into hermaphrodites. I can chop off body parts. I can do all sorts of stuff and graft on a penis. I can do crazy stuff. And by the way, I need you to tell anyone that if they don't do that, you're an intolerant bigot. We're going to let teachers groom and indoctrinate and man, what do you even call it? What do you even call it? And it's not deviancy. It's you got to allow people to be who they want to be. You want to be a purple dinosaur? You know what? Here's how we knew that it was crazy. Here's how we knew it was crazy. Ready? You can be a cat. And by the way, if you don't put a litter box in the corner, I can sue the school. You could dress up like a cat. We debate the ridiculous. And it's not just the Democrats that allow it to happen. It's the Republicans that sit there and they want to remain silent, or they want to pick sides and say, you know what, let's just not talk about it. Let's let that stuff creep in. And it reminds me of this. Democrats and Republicans are looking at a road and said, if we daze, confuse, and create enough chaos, it'll favor the op. We can steal whatever we want off the bone. We might even be able to take a little bit, give them a tax break here and there. And you know what? By the end of the day, they won't own shit and they'll like it. Republican environments have sane people because the parents stay engaged, many of which are run by community efforts that allow for them to talk to the children and to the teachers because they have guns, because they have the ability to defend their environment. You go into places like Colorado, have turned into an absolute hotbed of crime, riddled with crime. And you have people like Jared Polis and Jenna Griswold and the rest of these circus clown freaks that up until 20 years ago, no one would even look in their direction. They would call them what they are. But now those are the people that are creating rules and laws to further enslave behind enemy lines the people in those states. And there is no parity. There is no equal protection. There is no having an American standard where if you're an American in Colorado, you have the same rights that you have down in Florida. No. A complete violation where the Constitution doesn't mean anything. And the Brunson decision should have settled all of it. It should have been really simple. You can't infringe upon the Second Amendment, but it doesn't matter because they just walk in, and it's not just Colorado. It's Oregon, Washington, California, Nevada, Arizona. They're doing it everywhere. And we're sitting back and saying somewhere along the line, it's okay. It's one of the reasons why yanking Dan Bongino off the stage is a strategic bad move. It's a terrible move. It was a terrible pick. And say, well, why? Because he was at least a mouthpiece for reason. He at least said things that made sense. He did and said and pushed things that drove us towards a place where 100% of the time, like it or not, I don't always agree with him. There's plenty of times I don't. But he's willing to stand up and call a piece of shit a piece of shit. And I want to come all the way back to the Epstein files. Kabuki Theater. Nearly 20 years later. And we don't know who's on the list. And more importantly, you don't think they had time to try and figure out where all the data was prior to this? There wasn't somebody out there that had access to it. I want to put this out there. And I'm going to start here because, you know, I said that before that I wanted to always shed a light. I want to always shed a light on Tina. We talked about Jeremy Brown got released yesterday. He walked out of court yesterday after he was already pardoned. And they tried to keep him in there on staged crimes. They did all sorts of stuff to him and negotiated. I truly believe that President Trump is doing that right now with Tina Peters. But here's the reality. Tina Peters is still in jail. It's time that we free Tina by all means necessary. It's time we deal with weaponization of the captured states against the citizens of the United States. Free Tina Peters and prosecute the cartels in the state of Colorado that include Dominion voting systems. Now, everyone out there is talking about free Tina Peters, free Tina Peters, free Tina Peters. They're all talking about some people are making money on it. Some people are, you know, trying to take credit for the work that was done by other people. I actually don't give a shit. You can take credit for whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Man, when Tina gets out, you can act like you were the one that got it all done. It's all done. Yeah, so I just got a text message. People aren't getting texts. I don't know about the text. You know, I can't tell you. But if you want to hit the share button and share it with everybody else, I'm sure people will come flooding in. Keep in mind, no one is going to do any favors for talking about what we're talking about today. And I'm not upset. I don't want you to be upset. I don't want to just say that, hey, things aren't moving the way that they should. I'm just going to tell you that Tina should not be in jail right now. She should have been ground zero for making sure that we got to a place where we had free and fair elections. They're talking about it now, but it's almost as if that took a second or back door to the Epstein files. So you have things that we will sit here and concentrate on, and then we forget about Tina Peters. I don't want to forget about Tina Peters. She needs to get out of jail, and they need to get her out now. And then they need to get to the place where we have free and fair elections. You're running out of time. You have 90 days. You have 90 days to set a standard for new elections, or in 2026, this whole experiment for the next 2 years will be a speed bump to the tyranny of really radical people. And if we don't start speaking the way you need to speak about what is happening in our communities in our country, you have no chance anyway, because you're allowing the ridiculous to even have a voice. It appears that the Trump, so to move on, the Trump administration is serious about the information regarding Jeffrey Epstein. yesterday, Pam Bondi was on Fox, and she had something to say, and she wanted to. People just want to know, when can we expect the release of those documents? I equate all of this to, well, let's just play it. Let's play it first.
One of the things a lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
Pretty sick what that man did. So they know what's in it. They know what's actually in all the files. People have access to it. They still didn't name names. No one's naming names. The release has now been postponed until tomorrow. But in the meantime, you had a bunch of people that were that have all this information that were given all the findings first. So rather than just put it out to the American people, no, you're going to have just a few people in conservative ink that have access to that information, because that really is kind of what it centers on, right? Is that let's control the flow and who gets access to the information, so we don't talk about Captain Obvious. I just want you to know I was never reinstated on X. All these people were reinstated. Joe Altman wasn't. No reason other than the fact that they didn't like the fact that I went after the people that went after my family, that came to my house to do harm, came with guns to my house to do harm. And I'm pissed. Yeah, I'm freaking pissed. I'm pissed. Just as pissed as I am at a couple revelations that are going to come out this week and next week that, frankly, are going to just blow you guys away. They're going to blow you away. Well, let's go ahead and put this up if we would. This is the journalists. The journalists were given access to these books. Let's go ahead and play it. Drano holding up a folder of information related to the Epstein files. All right. It's crazy. You remember that President Trump was the only one who helped the Epstein victims, kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. And let's, if we can, let's go ahead and play this. This is from a couple years ago, but this is he's talking about and questioning him on whether or not President Trump cooperated. Let's go ahead and play it.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, "Let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know," and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009. So,
do you know if there's any truth to James Patterson's claims that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago?
I've definitely heard that.
Yeah.
I definitely heard that, and I don't know that it was Trump himself as opposed to a manager there.
But it's Trump's club, so
yeah,
people credit him.
I've heard the rumor that Epstein was kicked out of there for allegedly trying to pick up somebody's daughter or something like that.
So this is where the truth comes out in small bits and pieces of being able to hold people accountable for their behavior. And before we're actually joined by our guests, I'm going to get away from talking about Epstein for a minute. And the reason being is because I don't actually believe that we're going to get all the information at all. I think that there are probably people. Remember, Epstein didn't care about anything other than creating victims and making sure that he had a nice Rolodex of information on pretty much anyone that he wanted to control. Couldn't control President Trump, but he controlled a lot of people on the Republican side and the Democrat side. And I know that that's not convenient. But let's talk about what's happening at the border. We have a bunch of deportation efforts that are happening. We have people that are coming out saying, hey, give us $25 billion and we will literally get rid of 12 to 15 million people. Hegseth gave a message to the cartels. We're taking nothing off the table. Here's what he had to say.
What's your message to the cartels? They're watching all this. What's your message to them?
Oh, my message has been from the beginning, we're taking nothing off the table. Nothing. We will do whatever it takes to secure the American homeland, to maintain our sovereignty, and protect the American people.
Does that mean you're ruling out potential strikes inside of Mexico on fentanyl labs that we know they exist, and we know where they exist?
No, I don't think I ruled anything out. Anything's on the table. The commander-in-chief ultimately, with my consultation and with the chairman and others, will make those determinations, but nothing's off the table. Our sovereignty will be defended.
Wow. Our sovereignty will be defended. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer about it, but the reason why I opened it up with talking about the Democrats is because the Democrats are the ones that are out there saying that they're destroying the economy. You have MSNBC, IA, you have CNN or CIANN that are out there talking about and saying the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And basic people are so retarded that they don't even do the quick math of what the Democrats represent. But these same Democrats are out there now trying to dox ICE agents. And here's what President Trump had to say about that just yesterday. Let's play it.
President, your number one issue was the border. We just got new information that they're doxing our federal agents. They're putting their personal information out there, these activists, and they're disrupting the operation. So you got Trinidad Alger running all over.
Well, we have activists, that's true. And
so what are we going to do about the activists?
Yeah, a lot of those activists are acting illegally, and we'll give that to our Attorney General, and she'll take a look at that very strongly. But we also having tremendous support from Border Patrol, from ICE. The ICE agents have been unbelievable. Border Patrol, their leadership at Border Patrol has been incredible, and they're working very well. And as you know, and I saw you reporting it this morning, actually, we set records on the least number of illegal aliens coming in, migrants coming into our country that we've had in more than 50 years. And we did this all within a period of weeks because we took over a mess. The world was pouring in. And remember, they were coming in from jails and prisons and mental institutions and insane asylums, and they were gang members and drug dealers. Anybody wanted to come in, they came. And from not just South America, from all over the world. So it's amazing what they've done. And Christie and Tom Homan, the job they've done has been absolutely amazing. We set records for... and we want people to come into our country, by the way, but they want to come in, they have to come in legally. I want that to be really understood. We want people in our country, but they have to come in legally.
We want people to come in illegally. Pam Bondi is going to look into doxing ICE agents. But when are the arrests going to come? And finally, before we actually have our guests come in, when I talk about catering to the ridiculous and talking about the ridiculous, we failed a war game. we fail. We fail at hello. We don't want to win. We don't want to be we don't want to call. We're just afraid. Like, we're so afraid to call the devil. We're so afraid to point out the obvious, and all the information's there. But everybody wants to get caught up in the moment, in the individual thing, and not call someone as ridiculously retarded as Michael Moore retarded. Michael Moore claimed that deported illegals could have cured cancer. Well, they can cure cancer in whatever country they came from. Sure, they got it all figured out over there. Yeah, somehow, I don't think the cartels or any of these evil people that are getting drunk and driving into families and doing crazy stuff, because that's who's being deported right now. But let's just go ahead and we got to play it. Let's give Michael Moore his 2 minutes of fame. Let's go.
The Trump administration has been on a mission to get dangerous illegal criminals out of our country. But progressive filmmaker Michael Moore has quite the hot take. Michael Moore claims that apprehended criminal illegal immigrants, or just those illegal immigrants, could have changed the world. This is what he wrote. Who's really being removed by ICE tonight? The child who would have discovered the cure for cancer in 2046? The 9th grade nerd who should have stopped that asteroid that's going to hit us in 2032? Do we care? Well, the White House got wind of this and fired back. Here's what they said. This is a very good response. Michael Moore is free to visit the quantum computing and particle physics labs that MS-13, TDA, and the cartels are now going to have set up back home in El Salvador, Venezuela, and Mexico. A little tongue-in-cheek there. But then they provided a list of the most heinous crimes committed by some of the apprehended illegal immigrants that Trump wants off of our streets. These include sexual exploitation of a minor, kidnapping, assault, murder, drug trafficking, gang affiliation, and even one known or suspected terrorist.
Sounds legit. It sounds completely normal. Well, let me just put this in Michael Moore's corner for a minute. Where was Michael Moore when they were killing babies? I mean, you want to cure cancer? What about the babies you killed and the fact that they could have cured cancer or stopped the asteroid? But you've been killing tens of millions of babies, genociding mostly minority communities for decades. And so why is that argument? This is why I tell you, you cannot debate the ridiculous. We have cornered the ability to give demons the ability to speak and tell us that the devil doesn't exist while they're being the devil. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be met with Charlene Bollinger. She's a health freedom advocate, co-founder of The Truth About Cancer and The Truth About Vaccines. New York Times bestselling author. I don't know if I can give her any credit for being with the New York Times at all today, but I'm going to just say it because it's true. Spent 2 decades advocating for alternative cancer treatments and revising vaccine schedules. She's done a bunch of work next to Bobby Kennedy Jr. In 2021, she was named one of the disinformation dozen by the White House. Peter outspoken views on vaccine safety. She's been on tour. She's talked pretty much all over the country. And when she comes back, we're going to talk about unpacking the lies. We'll be right back.
Do you want to get profits from the world's most productive oil basin? Bloomberg calls the Permian Basin the world's most important growth engine for oil production. Now there's a way for everyday investors to collect monthly checks from an incredible oil hotspot. It's not a stock, and it's not an ETF. Instead, you can actually own royalty rights on over 380,000 acres of prime oil and gas fields. The best part? 95% of all income from this investment gets paid directly to investors like you. You can simply sit back and collect the royalty checks month after month. You can get started with just $25 through any brokerage account. Visit oilboom2025.com to learn more about the opportunity from the Oxford Club's chief income strategist, Mark Lichtenfield. That's oilboom2025.com to learn how to start collecting Permian Basin oil royalties today.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF Guns. What is DCF Guns, you ask?
We're the best damn gun store and range in the universe. Do we have guns? We have all the guns. We got small guns. We got big guns. We even have beastly guns. We offer all types of training, and we have 5 ranges across our 3 locations. I'm a good shot. And of course, we have all types of ammo. We even have flamethrowers. Woo! We offer incredible membership opportunities, and members save even more on guns, ammo, and accessories. Military, both active and retired, and first responders get up to 40% off memberships. Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. It's hot. In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
All right, so welcome back. We were talking over the break. I was talking to Charlene about what she's doing right now, and we're just kind of reminiscing. It's kind of a fun last 3 or 4 years. Actually, it's not. But with that said, I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's just bring her on board. Charlene, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe. It's so good to be together. It's been, I guess, 3 or 4 years maybe since we've actually been together hanging out. I think, wasn't that in California? Anaheim?
2022, I think. It was like February or March 2022.
Yeah, it could have been. Or, I think it was 2021 because we had an event shortly after that. So it was 2021. We had a live event where we had Eric Trump come and speak, Jim Caviezel, John Schneider, huge event in Nashville after that time. So I'm pretty sure it was earlier than that.
Maybe it was. It all kind of just blends together if you want the truth. It was a 4-year slugfest. You could equate it to a war. I mean, it's none of us died yet. Some did actually, but yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Tell everyone what you're up to right now. I got to hear a little bit of it over the break, but what are you working on right now?
Well, for the viewer that doesn't know me, again, my name is Charlene Bollinger. I'm co-founder with my husband of The Truth About Cancer, The Truth About Vaccines. We also have a luxury skincare line that I'm having so much fun working on, charlize.beauty. But right now, the recent topic that I think we can really unpack and talk about is a new movie. You can go to IMDb. We put it up there. We're still trying to figure out how to get the trailer in there. We've got a lot of movies on that platform. But in any case, unpacking the lies we've been fed. And for the trailer, go to unpackthelies.com/trailer and check it out. We're getting ready to have a Rumble launch of the movie. Yeah, there's the film page. This movie is so important for America because we have been so unhealthy for so long, and it has been by design. We've covered this, Joe, in our films. We are founders of docuseries, health docuseries. So now when you see a health docuseries, think Ty and Charlene. This is our business model to put it out free. And, this movie is free too. And we just want everybody to watch it, share it. We cover how we got here. How did we get this unhealthy? It didn't just happen. It was by design, cleverly crafted, and people are making a lot of money on Americans being sick because they go back to the doctor, they get the treatments, they go back to the doctor, they get their treatments. Chemotherapy being one of the main 3 different sanctioned treatments for cancer patients. They're making billions of dollars a year on that one treatment alone. Radiation, same. Surgery seeds the cancer. We get into all that stuff, but that's one component of many. Vaccines, that's a whole nother topic. We've got a whole series of films on the vaccine issue. We released The Truth About Vaccines 2020 in April of 2020, knowing 2020 was going to be the year of the vaccine because we read Healthy People 2020, but we had no idea they were going to roll out COVID. God did. And we worked with Bobby Kennedy, Andy Wakefield, Rasha Buttar, who was on the disinformation dozen list with us, who is no longer with us. He was poisoned. There's a lot of speculation. I'm actually good friends with his brother.
With who?
And
I'm sorry?
Rasha Buttar. He's Dr. Rasha Buttar. He was one of the 10 or one of the 12 disinformation dozen people for telling the truth.
When did
and he died. He said he was poisoned. I was too. At one of the Clay Clark events, the first one that I helped play with, I was targeted and I was poisoned and I literally almost died.
December of 2021.
What?
December of 2021.
Yeah, I think that's when he was hit. I was hit in April of 2021. So yeah, it was 2021 was the first event of Clay's, and I brought a lot of the Avengers to the table. We knew we had to get together and show people you don't have to wear masks. You don't have to do all this madness. This is madness. And they didn't want us to be successful. So they did target me. They did poison me. And thankfully, I'm connected to the best doctors. So they were able to give me what I needed to help me recover from that.
Charlene, it was December of 2021. I'm just going to tell you right now that we were hit. What was the frogman's name called? Apollo?
Doug Kuzma.
Doug Kuzma. Do you know who he is?
I don't.
So December of 2021, Apollo got hit. I got hit. Clay Clark made me go on a video and say, hey, you need to tell people that you didn't get poisoned. Unfortunately, I had my blood tested and it was a derivative of anthrax. It was in my system. I had to go on 90 days of antibiotics, which destroyed my system, destroyed Apollo's system, killed the Doug Kuzma guy. And I tried calling and talking to his daughter. They said, oh, he has COVID, he has COVID, he has COVID. I'm like, you have no idea. He does not have COVID. It's a derivative of anthrax. You need to put him on this antibiotic and he'll live. She literally said that I was crazy. They said I was crazy. He died 2 days later. I said, what do you have to lose? Just put him on the antibiotic and I promise you he'll recover. Yeah, I'd be curious to see when this other guy died, because my guess is that it was around that same time.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where Rashid was. He never said at that event. And I guess I've never said the name of the event because we value what Clay does and it wasn't his fault. We are all under attack. And I didn't want to make people afraid of getting together. And now we're so far removed from that, it's not really big of an issue with the fear factor. I'm never afraid. And even at the time when I was poisoned, and thankfully I had doctor friends and that I didn't do antibiotics. They told me not to because it would trigger it and make it worse in my case. But I did some winning things that really turned it around. All I could do, I couldn't even talk at the time. I was just able to say, I know I've been poisoned and I don't think I'm going to make it on this protocol, which is now on my website. This really helped me to turn a corner and get better. And it was a long and slow process to get better because it was really intense. But that's how bad that these criminals want us to not be heard. You know, being put on that disinformation dozen list with Bobby Kennedy, Rasha Buttar, who's no longer with us, and some other leaders in our movement, because we've been able to reach millions, that when they hear the message and they see the proof, they walk away from the pharmaceutical model and now they call us, anti-vaxxers or vaccine hesitant or whatever their terms are. It's just the same thing as conspiracy theorists. We know that the CIA came up with that term to make anybody questioning their official story about Kennedy to seem like they were just crazy. So the term triggered that, oh, can't listen, those people are crazy. Same thing with the anti-vaxxer title, but people are beyond that too. So we are winning and winning big. This movie that we created helps to educate everybody, whether it's a child or a doctor, educated or non-educated, understand how we got so sick, who did it, what was their role in it, why did they do it. We get into the propaganda, the tools that they use, child or a dog, entice the American people. And then we get into these hearings and roll out the solution that Bobby has. And this movie was meant to help people understand the value that Bobby Kennedy brings as now our Secretary of HHS.
Okay, so there's so much to break into when you talk about vaccines, cancer, everything that's happening. And, it wasn't until the crazy became uncrazy that you even had a voice, which we were just talking about before, in the fact that the ridiculous get the stage, right? And everyone else outside of the ridiculous has to sit down and listen to it. When did you start digging into cancers? How did you get into the place where you're like, okay, we have to look at why? Like, why was cancer the thing that you concentrated and you focused on? And how did you get access to information in a time when it was suppressed by pretty much everyone?
Wow. So I guess you don't know the story. This is, it's a big deal. Ty and I, my husband, met in 1995. And I actually saw the movie Braveheart, and I'm friends with Mel Gibson, so I was able to tell him this story a few years ago, and I think he loved it. It's a good story. But I watched the movie Braveheart, and I was on a date with a loser, and we left the movie theater, and I said, you know what? I have a Braveheart in this world. You are not it. And so then 2 weeks later was literally when I met Ty. And I was a Christian now at this point for 2 years. And I was, a whole backstory. We all have our backstories, but God had prepared me for this moment. And I did pray for this moment. And he put in my heart that I had a Braveheart. And I had that dream as a little girl, my knight in shining armor. I'm very dramatic, dream big. So I knew that this character Mel Gibson played, Braveheart, was my husband. And he was out there and I wasn't with him. So 2 weeks later, I met Ty, and on our first date, he said, I don't mean to scare you, but I think I'm falling in love with you. 3 days later, I said it back. 9 days later, I had the ring on my finger, and 6 months to the date, we were married. We were so happy living the dream. I don't know if there was anybody on earth that was even close to as happy as we were, but God was setting the stage for big things. 6 months into our marriage, his dad, which was such a great man, was diagnosed with cancer, and 25 days later, he was dead. The treatment killed him. They cut his stomach out, and he literally bled to death. That's how he died. But we were so ignorant at the time of the facts, and this was in 1996, so this is pre-internet time. We didn't have access to the internet, so even at the time when he was diagnosed, we were looking into shark cartilage. We had heard about the Hoxie Clinic in Tijuana, Mexico, which was where we were going to take him, but we didn't have time, and it wasn't God's will. God took him out of this world to put us into this position to do what we're doing today. So after we lost Dad, what a tragedy. We thought it was really cancer. Well, it wasn't cancer. It was that surgery that killed him. So then 6 months later, we lost Ty's father's father. 6 months later, we lost Ty's father's brother, Joel, and his cousin, Glenn, all in that first year to the cancer treatments, not to the cancer. And then a few years later, we lost his mom's mom, then his mom's dad, and then finally his mother, all to the treatments. And his mother had the same, she had stomach cancer. It's not genetic, it's environmental. It was the same type of cancer. They were eating the same things and whatever it was that they were doing, but they were truth-minded people. Ty, my husband, truth-minded person. I am a researcher, truth-minded, and we're both gifted in these areas and things. So when we lost Mom, we knew that we were done. We did the research, we understood what was going on, and we knew that we had to save lives and do it quick because every day people are dying from the treatments. And so we said together, we are going to reach everybody in the world with the truth about cancer, that it doesn't have to be a death sentence. If you know the information, you know how to heal your body, how to balance it back out, detoxify, and so forth, you can live a long, happy life. You don't have to lose your whole family just because you don't know there are viable solutions out there. So we took 2 years to write a book called Cancer Step Outside the Box. We had to self-publish this book because there's no publishing company that would take it. It's such a bomb. Today, it's still the best book in the market. It's in the 6th edition. And we name names. We tell the real stories. And it was so powerful, Joe, that we got death threats. We had to move out of this country. They said how they were going to kill, torture each one of our children. This was back in 2006. And so we did move out. We went to South America briefly and then to New Zealand. But in New Zealand, and that country doesn't have the vibrant Holy Spirit. Like, it's kind of dark there, the vibe. You look into people's eyes, it's like there's deadness there. There's not really life spiritually. You can just feel it and see it. And then God just infused my heart with the reality that the angel of the Lord is at our door. The enemy cannot touch a hair on our heads, no matter what they say or try, unless God allows it for our good and his glory. Look at the book of Job. God is the one that lowered the hedge. He's the one that hired it up, and he's the one that protects. So I'm on board. I get it. God is our protector. He called us, he equipped us. But then as a mama bear, I'm like, but my kids, don't touch my children. If it weren't for our children, we would have been in their face like right away, because I am fearless for myself, but I protect my children. And so God gave me another download. You love these kids, but your love is a drop in the bucket. You are a steward for this life. They belong to me by right of creation and salvation. And if I take you out of this world, my love is endless. And I am all powerful. I am God, and I am the perfect parent. I can take you out and still take care of the kids. And so then I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm in. So I'm fearless. We come back to America. We continue this work. And this is what the New World Order cabal fears most. People that are really filled with the Holy Spirit and God's almighty power that are fearless. Remember, through COVID or anything that they push, anything like it, the biggest tool our enemy has in his toolbox is fear. So they're constantly pushing fear to drive our actions into whatever piggy pen they want us in. And during COVID, it was the shot. They wanted everybody to have a shot. Well, we came with the solutions. The Avengers were with us. That was Bobby Kennedy and Andy Wakefield and Rasha Bittar, Sherry Tenpenny, Judy Mikovits. These people are in our films, on our live event stages. Those are some of the people that I brought to that original. Clay Clark didn't know any of these people. I brought them because these people are heroes, and I believed in Clay. We had a common goal to really save this country. And so that happened during the COVID years. We were censored badly. And I wrote the magnum opus, Ty and I, with our legal team. It's on our website, Joe. You need to check it out. It's a 317-page complaint that we filed in December. We've heard from Google, Facebook, Meta, Twitter X. We're filing against the FBI, the DOD. I mean, you look at the defendants. This is no joke. We wrote the book on the censorship industrial complex. It goes all the way over. It's our government using these social media and legacy platforms as their tools. It was our government that did this. And it was the UK government. It goes all the way up to the crown. It's all there. You need to read it. It's a shock. People have never put together the whole grid. The Twitter files was one small little dot in the whole giant picture. We give the whole giant picture, and we're going to win. They censored us, and they censored us probably worse than they censored anybody else. And Bobby was censored with us. There's the article. That's the one. Go to thetruthaboutcancer.com, pull that article up. The complaint is linked. You got to read the complaint. The nature of our action is only a few pages. You can get the vibe on what it is, but we name names like we always do. And now it's in the courts here in Tennessee, and we're going to win. So this movie is kind of like that vibe. Here are the crooks and the criminals. Here's what they've done. But with Bobby, this movie was to magnify the good work Bobby is doing. And we see it. He just stopped a vaccine company from killing a lot of people by just stopping this trial that was going to happen. When he said that he was going to come in and uncapture these agencies and stop the fraud and the bad medicine, he was not joking. And so this movie helps the viewer to understand that. And it frames Bobby. You could see right into my heart, my husband's heart. And Matthew Scow, director of Died Suddenly, was our director on this one. You'll see into our heart, and you'll see Bobby and who he really is, and why what he's doing is so critically important. So that's our backstory on how we got from losing various family members to the conventional cancer treatments, to finding out the truth, building this amazing platform of content that is filled with the truth, that now we have testimonies from around the world, Joe, from people that were sent home to die because their doctors are trained by Big Pharma and they don't have the solutions that we have. We've helped to educate doctors that they get their hands on our information, these cancer patients that are given 2 weeks to live. And years later, they're alive and cancer-free, including Roger Stone's wife. When Roger Stone, his beautiful wife, got cancer, he called me. He went to our website, and he will tell you that of all the information in the world, thetruthaboutcancer.com is where he got the solutions. And it was from the time of stage 4 diagnosis to the time she was cancer-free, only 5 months. And Roger is a genius. So there's that too. But we were able to help her, along with countless other people, find healing. This is why pharma is afraid of us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that I don't think that pharma fears a whole lot because psychopaths don't actually have a lot of fear, right? They just don't. They don't even care about the consequences.
But they do fear us. Remember, they fear God. The demons, they don't fear us, but they do fear God. Now they believe, but they have not been granted repentance. They do fear God. And the truth is a fearful thing to the enemies, because the one thing they don't want is to be exposed. I know that they have no integrity like you. They don't have a heart like you do, and they don't care about us at all. And they are cowards. They are cowards. Remember Stalin, when he was dying, he was afraid. People think, oh, no, people don't like that or not afraid, but he was afraid. He was very afraid because he was a coward. These people have no integrity, no heart like you. They don't have honor like you do. And they do respond to fear, which is why they push fear. They respond to the light. The darkness hates the light because it doesn't want its evil deeds exposed.
Charlene,
that's all I'm saying.
Hold on. We have a history in this country of having a rotted institution of government called the judiciary. We have a school to prison pipeline. It's a privatized prison system. You could put the top 50 countries in the world that incarcerate their people, and we have more people in jail than they do, right?
Right.
Our entire system is run off of a rotted system. When I say that Big Pharma is not afraid, they're not afraid because they can run the clock. I mean, if you could show me one person that was arrested and put in jail, I mean, like that they did something in 2019, and by 2020 they're in jail, then I would change my mind.
But that's the thing, Joe. I agree with you. You're 100% right there. But here's the thing. They're afraid now because that might happen. We're poised and in a position now that actually might happen. And I'm not beyond hope. I know some people think that will never happen. I actually think that it might happen.
I didn't say that. I didn't say it wasn't without hope. I just said that they don't see, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the next 2 years. If it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. Like if it doesn't happen in the next 2 years, it was never going to happen.
Right.
In a place of perpetual kabuki theater, that this is all just a show.
Right.
If there are key decisions that have to be made in the next 18 months, that if they are not made in the next 18 months, we have zero. This is just a speed bump to the tyranny of this country. Right.
Right.
So,
for me, my lenses are always through the scripture and through God. And I know that he is sovereignly working his will, whatever that is. But I also know that he promises in 2 Chronicles 7:14 that if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves, turn from their sin and pray, then I would hear them from heaven and I would heal their land. So, before the election, I had, public and private prayer calls in Zoom with, my good friend Marla Maples and Tiffany's dear husband's mother, Sarah. She's an amazing woman, godly people here with other people like that. One of our calls, I think General Flynn joined, but praying, and counting on that verse. And we really saw miracles happen because God is able. We can't. But if we truly in our own homes take care of our own hearts, our own families, and turn in our houses instead of like pointing outward, this one, look what that one's doing, like take care of your own home and come together and pray for this nation, truly with a humble, repentant heart. I believe that I see evidence that many, many believers have done that. We did that together and we see change. Now, Mel sent me during when Trump was elected, oh my goodness, we were all so happy, but it's a pivotal moment. And the Bishop Vigano, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Mel sent me that article his statement, and I republished it. I'll have to send it to you, Joe, his statement about this. And he called out the deep state. He really, I was shocked at some of the things that he said. That guy's a hero. But he said something that I was telling Mel and my close friends at the time. God heard us and he answered us. Now, he did the same for Nineveh. Remember, he sent Jonah to Nineveh. Jonah didn't want to go. He said, they're a bunch of losers. They deserve to fry. So he tried to, hide and not go. But God had the whale come, spit him on the beach and said, dude, you're going to go. So he goes and he obeys, not happily. He's super depressed because he doesn't want to see these people blessed. They don't deserve it in his mind. But he tells them the message, the king of Nineveh hears, they do repent in dust and ashes. They pray, they fast. And so God stays his hand of judgment. But here's the thing, we have to continue in that posture. God's people have to really continue in that posture. And what happened in Nineveh? They went back to their old ways. They forgot the forgiveness of God. They forgot to serve God. And then God wiped them off the map. So, that's where we are right now in America. If God's people, because judgment starts with God's people first, if God's people don't remain in that posture of humility, repentance, and prayer, and just crying out to God, we're going to lose this moment, and we're going to lose it quick. Now, when I say that pharma is afraid, everything you said is absolutely correct and accurate, and I agree. But I do know that the pharma ghouls do fear being caught and put in prison or worse, and that's what they deserve. And if they don't get it here on earth, they're going to get it when they face God 100%.
Yeah. Well, how do people, so you have a new movie out, people can follow you now in a lot of different ways. You're still working with Bobby Kennedy on some of the other things of getting more of what he's doing inside of the government out. How can people follow you? How can people follow you personally?
The main hub where all of our socials are linked at the top of the main hub is thetruthaboutcancer.com. Thetruthaboutcancer.com, and there you'll be able to see, I think if the movie's not there, the movie is, I think it's there somewhere, unpackthelies.com/trailer. Go to the trailer page, watch it, share it with everybody. There's no reason not to. It's free. It's going to remain free. We're going to launch it on Rumble. It'll be there for consumption. That's our website. So all of our socials, you can see the icon at the top. Just click in, follow us. We've got over 1 million on Substack, over 1 million, almost 2 million on Facebook. They blew us off of, there's the trailer page. Thank you to you've got a good producer, whoever's doing the pulling up of data. But we were blown out of YouTube. We had many followers on YouTube, both on The Truth About Cancer and vaccines. They blew that out. They blew out, I heard you saying something about X. We're still waiting on our big channels there too. I don't know if we're in a lawsuit. They're going to give them back. Pulling up of data.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. You just went, you disappeared on my screen. All right. Well, I tell you what, I will make sure that we push it out. We've got about 3.5 million people on the email list, so we'll push it out to them as well. And we'll continue to push it on the Untamed Nation. So, Charlene, thank you for all the work that you've done. In fact, you've been committed to this for almost 30 years. So,
3 decades. Yeah.
I give your husband my best, and I am curious to see about the poisoning part. I can't let it go. I mean, it was literally 3 years of, Apollo, you could probably speak to this as well. Apollo is still not right. Some 3 years later. So.
I'm going to send you a
never
protocol.
Really recovered from that event. So it's been since December 2021. Never been. Still can't eat quite how I like to. But
well, let's touch base after the show, okay? Because I've got some information that I could definitely share, and I think I can even help to optimize your health. I'm sorry to hear about that. It's intense when you have that, and I didn't think I was going to make it, and I had a winning protocol that really saved my life. I don't believe I'd be here without it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, God bless you. Thanks for coming on with me, and we'll see you here again.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks to your producer. You're both awesome.
All right, take care. Man, there's so much that we can actually cover related to vaccines, cancer. It's now become the thing at the very top of the pipe. What I find interesting is that no matter where you turn, electricity, you can talk about Nikola Tesla and some of the things that he was able to come up with. There's a new gentleman that came up with a magnet process that was an engine that took no fuel. Imagine this. It runs off magnets that go back and forth. And, he just launched it. Apollo, I don't know if you've seen that. He just launched it
No, I haven't.
4 months ago. He had this thing that had two magnets, and it could, you just let the magnet go, and it had this little thing of how much power is being created by these magnets. And it was like 700 or 800 equivalent horsepower. It was unbelievable.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And it's everywhere. He's like, yeah, I developed it using magnets. And people are like, oh, you can't do that. Well, actually you can, because you can strengthen the magnet's polarity over time using electricity. But it was magnificent how he came up with the idea. And you have levitation devices or trains that they were working on 50 years ago. But imagine you would cut out all of the costs associated with energy. Imagine that. Imagine if you were to derail the need. I'm not saying you would ever get rid of oil because plastics and everything else that were created, but a vast majority of the combustible fuels. And you could do so with like magnets and polarity changes and things like that. I mean, stuff that, or even let's just talk about capacitor technology. Wouldn't that eliminate, to some degree, nuclear facilities? Let's say, and I'm not saying you can. I believe that as we start looking at the technology that's been bought up and gobbled up by these different organizations, these companies, is that they will go out and say, "Hey, I'll buy your technology for $50 million," knowing that if that technology hits the market, it's going to eliminate $5 billion, let's say, of revenue for them. And cancer is one of those worlds, and even vaccines. They often say that causation does not equal correlation, correlation does not equal causation. But sometimes it does. Sometimes it does, and you can't help but look at what they've done with vaccines. And if you look at a map, I was looking at this map when I was doing the research about that first thing that I wrote, because there was so much to write. And when I first went to write it, it had like 30 things. I was talking about vaccines and the fact that big pharma companies were given basically qualified immunity, unqualified immunity. They have immunity from any prosecution or any liability. And I started going down this line, this is why I say that we cater to the stupid, the ridiculous, and the most retarded people on the planet. And some of the most evil people are allowed to speak and be given a voice while other people are told to sit down and shut up. But I started looking at things related to the vaccines, and then I started looking at things related to education. And as I started walking down the line, I was like, oh my gosh, how is it that nobody's talking about this? I'm constantly the one that's talking about Captain Obvious type of things. I mean, it looks like when we built the model in December of 2020 about Dominion voting systems and how they cheated in the election. And then I said, okay, here's how they're going to cheat in the runoff election on January 5th. And they go, okay, Joe, come to Washington. And I was like, okay, I came to Washington, and I bebopped and humped and, around. And I'm like, all right, here's how they did it. And here are the 6 ways. And you have to be connected to the internet in order to have this done by only one person, you have to have a system by which it could be triggered by things like rootkits or some other piece inside of it, right? And if that code is being built overseas, which it was in Serbia and other places, putting that benign code in a place where it could disappear is very easy, right? And I remember when I sat down with them and I kept looking around the room at all of these really smart people. And some of them worked for like the NSA, and you have the DNI, a director of national intelligence, and you had people that were in really big positions, much, arguably much smarter than me. I went to a state school. I'm not that bright. My books were lighter. They had less information in it. Most of the things that I've learned institutionally, I've learned by reading. I've learned by going and saying, I took the PL set because I wanted to see how well I would do, and I did really well. And So then I was like, well, why would I go take all these tests? Why would I say, okay, well, I want to go to law school. I want to see how so I did that, but I did so by reading. I read it most of it. I derailed myself there for a second. So, but I sat in the room with these people, and I remember having a conversation. Apollo, you were there for some of those conversations, and I would start speaking about how the system architecture works and how it runs from one system, so Dominion, how it pushes up to Seidel, and Seidel then takes the information, pushes it to Edison, Edison then pushes it to New York Times and all these things. And they kept asking me the question, and that is, how'd you figure this out? I was like, well, I just started reading. And you had guys that had aha moments. Was it Dinesh D'Souza? It was the other guy. It was the other guy that, remember the room that we went into, hotel room, and we're upstairs, and they put him on the screen, and the guy was it wasn't Dinesh. Who's the other one? Dr. Shiva, right? Wasn't it Shiva?
Oh yeah, Shiva, I think.
He's on there, and I was like, let me explain it to you. And I put the model up, and I went through it. And I remember he called me like 3 weeks later, and we sat on the phone for like an hour and a half. And one of the reasons why he did, and we were on the phone, and I ended up signing up for his little deal, $100 a year, because I was like, okay, I'll go through all this like weird stuff. He's a father of the internet, or father of email, or whatever. I didn't care. I wanted to get access to some of his white papers and information he had, because I thought, this is really interesting stuff. But we were on the phone, and we were talking about alternative care to cancer, because we had a friend who in Colorado, it was a young lady that had blood cancer, and she was going through all these different treatments, and she finally succumbed to it in 2023. So it was kind of a January 2023. And so, we sat on the phone. He was talking about, the ways and the genomes of cancer and how it all works. And I didn't understand any of it. But then I started reading and reading. And I go, oh my gosh, there really is something behind this cancer deal of they've created it. Like over the last 30 years, especially, you've seen a change happen in the makeup of the individual that has been pushed towards us creating a higher incidence of comorbidities and massive disease, right? Whether that be cancer or ALS. ALS was like 1 in 50,000. Now the chance of getting ALS are pretty high. I don't know what it is, but same could be said for getting MS. You go to Colorado, the rate of MS is like 20 times that of any other place in the country. And you say, well, what is it? Is it environmental? Is it something they give you? Do they put it in the water? I mean, what are the causes behind it? But there has to be a cause, because you wouldn't just have this epicenter of people that don't have any connection that all of a sudden are getting these diseases. So the further you get into some of the things that we face as a society, the harder it becomes not to look at it and go, all right, judges have qualified immunity. They're completely immune. I mean, think about it. The judge, like in the Tina Peters case, and Tina Peters case denied her the ability to have a defense. And what I find even more disgusting about it is that her attorneys just went along with it and said, oh, we got to set the stage for an appeal. And it's almost as if the attorneys are playing inside of the same system as the judges, that they create this perpetual problem that can only be solved by moving up or escalating it. And sooner or later, if it goes up far enough, because obviously there's some egregious natures of what they did to Tina Peters, it'll resolve itself. In the meantime, the judges and the judiciary gets to have its pound of flesh. Well, if you look at all of the things that are out there, you even look at, I mean, we're even going to put a bow around, Black Lives Matter and institutional racism and all these different things that they push out there, and holding police officers accountable. And now I'm just going off in a tangent, but it's all related. It's all related. But when you package it all together, it's the same. They're running the same game. It's the same playbook. It keeps working. We're going to hold Derek Chauvin, is it Chauvin? I think it's Chauvin, Derek Chauvin. We're going to hold him accountable for killing George Floyd because he kneeled on this black man that had 4 times the lethal limit of fentanyl in his system. And you had Maxine Waters that showed up in front of the courtroom and threatened the jury that if you don't find him guilty, we're coming for you. And nobody did anything. Nobody did anything. And I'm not the biggest fan of many inner city police officers. Just not. I think the vast majority of police officers are cowards because you could police your own. And it doesn't mean that I don't have friends that aren't police officers. My friends aren't cowards. You know, it's the same thing about, Steve Friend and Kyle Seraphin and all these guys and Dan Bongino, which is why I think it's a mistake that Dan Bongino went to work for the FBI because he was such an effective voice of reason. And I don't agree with everything he says. I don't even agree with everything Kyle said. And I'd like to believe that me and Kyle are friends. We're good friends. And I don't believe that everything he says to me, but he has a perspective. But we wanted to hold a police officer accountable, but we wouldn't hold the system that sends black men to prison at a rate of 20 times that of a conservative environment. And so it becomes impossible to look at everything that's in front of us and not go, holy shit. Like they're manufacturing problems, giving themselves qualified immunity, stealing all of the meat off the bone, taxing you to death, making it so that you have massive amounts of property tax and all of these taxes that you have make it nearly impossible for you to win. It's as if you're trying to swim up to the surface, and just as you get close to the surface, they add another 3 inches of water, another 3 inches of water, another 3 inches of water. And then all of a sudden, you barely almost break the surface just for a minute. They let you take a breath, and then they put 3 more inches of water on you. And so you're constantly trying to figure out how am I going to be successful for my family? How am I going to dodge cancer? How am I going to dodge disease? How am I going to dodge the IRS? How am I going to dodge? So everywhere you turn, everything becomes a nail and you're the hammer. And no matter how close to the surface of success we get, they always have a mechanism to try and take it from you, unless they decide you get to keep it. It's as if they've kept a tally on everyone in society, and they can use those levers. They can use the fake judiciary or the stealing of elections or just weak, pathetic shit people like Polis, like Governor Polis and Jenna Griswold, that diabolical piece of trash, or Chris Beall, who's really the Secretary of State. And he's a Deputy Secretary of State, but he's really the guy running the show because Jenna Griswold is dumber than a box of rocks. Or we look at Biden and the fact that for 4 years, you had people like Krappenstein brothers on X. Yeah, the Krappenstein brothers on X, that they just got out there and they tried to convince you that the devil was not the devil. And then you had the Lincoln Project, and everyone else is like, oh, you know what? Black power. And you're thinking to yourself, holy shit. They are literally siding with the Democrat Party, who is some of the most ridiculous, retarded people on the planet, who are demonic in every way, shape, and form, who are genociding the black community, taking away opportunities, shutting down education. It's a crime-ridden mess. I mean, it's crazy. They're doing everything they can to just fuck those people to death. And yet they stand there and they look across to Mar-a-Lago because of the beautiful grass, and they're like, that's the guy that caused all this shit to happen. And they believe it. They believe it. Or someone gets on TV or think, all right, find it for me, Apollo, will you? Will you find it for me?
Yeah, what am I looking for?
Here, I'll find it, because you got a guy that's like running his mouth saying that, that I'm afraid of him or something. It's crazy. Let me see if I can find it. He's like telling me he's going to come to Colorado. I'm like, dude. And then I went and found his picture. And I was like, bro, I'm just, I can't stop laughing. Anyway, let me go find it real quick. Here you go. I'm just going to put it here. I'll put it in the thing right now. There. Let me tell you what I'm about to do. I'm totally going off script right now. I'm going off script completely. And I'm doing it because I think that you guys all need a lesson in reality. This is reality. And the reality of it is that facts don't care about feelings. Like, they don't care about it. But here's some facts for you. Judges are 90% total trash. They'll make a couple of good rulings because it's the obvious and they have to, but they will lock black men up faster than you could shake a stick at it. Inner cities are designed to 99% of those people to be perpetually in a state of absolute turmoil. And if you get a good job, man, if you get that good job, they will decide whether or not you keep it. And that good job might only be a blue collar job, and maybe you could just go do it. But they get to decide. And then if you win the lottery, they will only let you rise to the level. And Eric, the mayor of New York City, is the perfect example of that. Mayor Eric Adams. They will control you. They will find a way to say, listen, you get to play in this environment as long as you screw the very people you say you want to protect. And the second you get out of line, like the governor of New York did, you will be forced to resign because we're coming for you. Let's play it.
I just want my job back. I just want to go to work. I just want to work. I want my job back. I want the unions to fight. I want the legislation to be reversed. Let us work. Let us do what they employed us to do. What we took our oath.
All right. So let me just put it this way, okay? I want this dude to have a job. I want him to have a job. But what oath do you take working for the federal government? Any idea? Protect and uphold the Constitution? And how is, by the way, that guy just wanted to go back to work for the IRS. That's what he was trying to do, is go back to work for the IRS. 6,600 IRS agents were fired. Gone. He wants to go back. He just wants to go back to work. He just wants to go back to work. But what is that work? See, they pin Americans against Americans. They import people from other countries. Then they tell them that they don't have to assimilate. You can set up your own little private environments. And if I'm wrong, then go up to Minneapolis and go to a place called Eden. I think it's Eden Park. It's just outside of Minneapolis. Eden Prairie. Go into that area, and there's an area that is just all Somalis. The crime is out. It's insane what the crime is. It's insane. Ilhan Omar's from that area. If you don't remember, this is where she goes in and tries to take ballots from all the people there and collect them, make sure she stays in office. Much like the cancer, much like what we talked about with education, much like the ACA, Affordable Care Act, which is sucking everything away from you, you layer on just 3 inches more of water, 3 inches more of water, and everyone except for this one group of people, this one group of elitists in the environment, they get to sit back as if they're watching a gladiatorial contest and watch people suffer. And you have things like the Supreme Court, which are all from the same area, same Ivy League schools that have polished through the process that we will give you this opportunity, but you're going to have to do our bidding. The entire thing is manufactured and we're fighting each other. This guy wants to keep his job. Okay, keep your job. And the guy that was arguing with me and said he's going to beat me up, man, God bless you. Apollo, this little guy is going to beat me up. I just want you to know he's going to come to Colorado and beat me up.
I mean, because that really scares me. Some little guy says he's going to beat you up, bro. I'm really worried for you.
Know your audience. It's like, I got to get you. Someone looked at the picture and I was like, bro, you're going to have to grow some muscles, number one. And if you don't grow some muscles, it's going to be real difficult for you. You got to beat me is going to be really hard. But hey,
hey, maybe I get to see you throw him around like a medicine ball. That could be fun.
I don't even, I mean, people just, the problem with people is that they have all this courage when they get on the keyboard and then they get in front of you and they're like, all right, let's talk about it. All right, I'm willing to talk about you tell me, sport, how you want to do this.
That's so true.
You know, I just want, it's always this flamboyant, hyperbolic, like this is breaking, this is going to be released, everything's great, but we can't have conversations about common fucking sense. Pardon my language. The terrible Great Reset, don't scream at those who are already doing the work. What does terrible reset say? Both parties trafficked in children and kidnapped women. You don't think so? You're deluded. Delusional. I don't know if I deluded, but that's probably right. What else you guys got to say? Doc Apollo holiday. I agree, New Case. I agree. Totally. Absolutely agree. I don't, it's as if we are not allowed to solve the problem. And when we do get close to solving the problem, they just dangle another carrot in front of us. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican, it just keeps happening. All right. That's all I got to say about that. I'm just going to spend a little time and tell you, during COVID, a lot of people lost their jobs. During COVID, people were told they had to get vaccines. They were dismissed from the military. They lost their homes. Massive numbers of people committed suicide or subject to some pretty bad things that happened to them. And the left didn't give a shit. They didn't care one bit. They bought into it. They bought into this idea. That, and again, I think it has more to do with the fact that we're not allowed to talk about things that are real. You can't. You try to. He's like, okay, I'm going to talk about it. Let's have a conversation about this. And you try to have that conversation. And then all of a sudden, you get turned off. Like they just that guy is talking too much common sense. Let's turn that down. We need people divided. We need people in trouble. We need people. And then they didn't just do it to the tech companies. They did it to churches. You're a 501c3. You can't talk about that stuff, man. You're talking about politics. We'll just strip you of your tax. And then that became the thing of why pastors became feckless. And you got cops that showed up, to a deal protest, and they beat the hell out of people. And then inevitably, here's what it came down to. They would say these words, say it with me. I'm just doing my job. Or they show up to school board meetings. And in the school board meetings, they would say to the parents, I'm just doing my job. I'm destroying the community, taking away things from people, persecuting with impunity, getting stood back up by judges that stand in the way of progress. I mean, remember, these are some of the same judges that removed President Trump from the ballot in Colorado. The same group of judges in Colorado that took President Trump off the ballot, which, by the way, was returned 9-0, got spanked by the Supreme Court almost instantaneously. These people are the same people. They're absolutely the same people that got caught paying a $2.5 million bribe for sexual deviancy inside of the Colorado Supreme Court, where the chief judge was told after that, you have to resign. We're not going to prosecute you. See, they have qualified immunity against everything that they do. And no matter if a judge makes a mistake or not, they're not held accountable. You know who is? The police officer at the bottom rung who is expendable. The Epstein list didn't get released for the same reason. Cancer treatments are swept under the rug for the same reason. You are an acceptable casualty to all of it. These people get to stay in Congress for 30, 40, 50 years, $200,000 salary. Now they're worth almost $300 million. The chances of you turning $200,000 into $300 million are nearly impossible, unless your name is Nancy Pelosi. And let's not forget that the governor of California is the nephew of Nancy Pelosi. So you can start to see that everywhere we turn, when we start having conversations about things, you're allowed to talk about it until you're not. And we're not allowed to talk about all the realities that are happening in the inner city and what DOGE is doing that's good for you, because if you talk about the things that are good for you based on what DOGE is doing, somebody else has to pay the price. So the people in the community that lose their jobs in the private sector and lose their businesses, they're in everything that they have worked their entire lives on. They put it up, they build a business, and in 2020, they ripped out about 20% of the population's entire life work. And not one person was compensated for that. People lost a vast majority of their net worth. You got ERPs or ERC loans that came out that people applied for. I applied for them. And you had other pieces of shit like Jovan Pulitzer, who's never had a successful anything in his entire life, that went out there and shamed companies that took money that they've been paying in for the last 25 years. And as we talk through all of these things, and I'm sitting here looking at the comments, we're in this perpetual state of bullshit. President Trump comes and speaks truth to us, and all of a sudden we listen to it, but he's the only one allowed. You still have conservative ink on one side and the liberals on the other side, and they give us nothing. I want to go ahead and play this if we can. Let's just play it. So this is, they had a U.S. Senate hearing to address the issue of being laid off. Reality. And here's the problem with the people that it's the absurdity of what they say. It doesn't even make sense. I'm going to play something. They have turned people that are federal employees into, I don't even know, poster children like Thunberg. You know, you've ruined my life. How dare you? They've turned these workers into something like it's, and this particular person that's talking as they're walking down the hallway says, I'm an accountant, I can get a job in the private sector tomorrow. Then freaking go do it. You don't have a right to work for the federal government. You wanted a free, easy job. And if anybody knows about the accounting world, man, go work for EKS&H. Go work for Deloitte. Go work for those guys. It's 75, 80 hours a week. But if you work the government, you don't have to do that at all. Let's go ahead and play it, because we need to take care of government workers. They deserve so much more. Play it.
Can you tell us what your message is to these senators while we're walking?
I think it's really cruel to fire people for poor performance when they've only had great feedback. We've never had an issue with our performance, and we're doing work for the American public. We're here for safety, and we're patriots. We love our country. That's why we're taking these jobs that don't pay us in the private sector. I'm an accountant. I could get a private sector job tomorrow, but
I mean, I don't even know what to say. We're patriots. We're doing this job because I don't think it's fair to fire anybody for poor performance. Get out. Get thee out. It doesn't even make any sense. But the Hakeem Jeffries, this is the king. This is the king of retards. He had this to say. Let's go ahead and play it.
Democrats are willing to work with any legitimate effort that is designed to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. The effort being led by Elon Musk is something very different. It's an assault on the American way of life as we know it.
Mr. Leader, Speaker Johnson mentioned last night that some of the protesters at some of the Republican town halls are Democratic plants. What's your response to some Republican criticism that this uprising that we're
House Republican leaders need to produce evidence that there are paid protesters. They are running scared, and it's shameful because they can't stand behind their reckless Republican budget. People are understandably upset and pissed off at Republicans because they promised to fight to make their life better, and instead they're trying to enact the largest Medicaid cut in American history.
Would Adrian Adams be a good mayoral candidate?
I have no comment on the mayor's race at this point in time.
Okay. Let me just round this out for you. It's an assault on the very way of life, the American way of life. It's an assault on that. It's different than rooting out waste. A whole bunch of word salad that doesn't mean jack shit. Let me just tell you what did happen. DOGE went in there and found a bunch of people. They don't want to talk about examples, kind of like they don't want to talk about examples of how Democrats are absolute dog shit. And if that's not enough, AOC had this to say. You're going to have to hear this because then I'm going to get back to the Hakeem Jeffries and the AOC boondoggle. These people are retarded. They're not just small retards. They went full freaking retard. Let's go ahead and listen to AOC. Really smart person.
DOGE did not exist 2 years ago. 19-year-olds were not raiding the Treasury 2 years ago. People who have no idea with medical background have not been hauling in and creating kangaroo courts for scientists to dismiss them 2 years ago. That started happening now. Elon Musk is not a scientist. He is not an engineer. He is a billionaire con man with a lot of money. He does not have this kind of good background. And in fact, while there's some disruption over that, I sincerely ask you all to examine what expertise he has in approving medical devices, in biomedical engineering devices. And if you all think that he is an expert in that, I've got a bridge to nowhere to sell you. These are people's lives that are on the line, and we cannot laugh them away. Genuinely, please, I am asking you to please support this amendment for the people who have medical devices stuck in their body. Thank you, and I yield back.
Okay, I don't even know where to start. He's got dual degrees in engineering, but the failed bartender knows best. It's. I don't want to sit here and tell you hyperbolically that oh my gosh, they're just retarded. There's no part of what they're saying that is reality. Is no part that as you listen to it, you go, oh, they sound reasonable. These sound like reasonable. These sound like good people. Yeah, and I'm sorry that I'm being just kind of not emotional about it. He's got 2 degrees. He's not smart. He doesn't. You have 19-year-olds. Look, there are 19-year-olds that right now could run circles around me, you, anyone. Super smart. Know how to use a computer better than anyone. And you want to sit here and tell me that you didn't have 19-year-olds. You didn't have non-medical doctors trying to tell scientists to justify their position. That's because those scientists were only allowed to write what actually benefited the actual narrative that they wanted them to take. Global warming, this green initiative, all the other things that you're dealing with. Those are all realities. But this gaslighting piece of trash, AOC, but it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there at all. And I want to go further into it. You're not going to believe this. The CIA is now saying, this is the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, the one that has created more private wars. I was on the phone last night with George Behizzi. And we were talking a little bit about what's happening in Congo. And I was like, it's the CIA. And he's like, how do you know? And I just went through a litany of things. And I talked about Jeffrey Sachs, who's now snuggled up next to Tucker Carlson. Tucker doesn't even know. I went to write Tucker a whole thing about Jeffrey Sachs. And I was like, you know what? But he has to know. He has to know. The CIA now is saying this. They're saying that if their funding gets cut, they will sell state secrets to Russia. They will sell state secrets to Russia. The CIA is saying that. Play it.
But Intel doesn't like being told what to do. When they saw Musk with the chainsaw doging foreign aid, they started leaking to CNN. If you doge us, there will be consequences. On the CIA's 7th floor, home to top leadership, some officers are also quietly discussing how mass firings and the buyouts already offered to staff risk creating a group of disgruntled former employees who might be motivated to take what they know to a foreign intelligence service. The CIA is telling CNN that if their funding gets cut, they're going to sell state secrets to Russia. Who the hell hired these Benedict Arnolds? The CIA is supposed to be filled with patriots, not sellouts. And the FBI is up to no good, too. Michael Schellenberger is reporting a source inside the FBI says the Bureau is destroying evidence. Now we know what their accomplishments were last week. Dear Elon, I wiped the servers cleaner than crooked.
You know, we want to. Wow, it gets worse. I'm going to show you some examples. Okay. They don't want the employees in our government do not want us to cut out all the waste and rot. They don't want it to be more efficient. They want it to be chaotic. They want to be able to do and say whatever they want. They want to get 500,000, 800,000 pensions, $1,000 pensions. They don't want to pay Social Security. They want to work 20 hours a week and go golf the rest of the time. They want to be given privatized entitlements that you can't get in the private sector. That is why they don't want to be cut out as a accountant. They don't want the IRS canceled. Why? Because they want to be able to steal money from the American people. They don't want to get rid of property tax because they want to be able to steal money from the American people. They want 70% costs of healthcare to go towards administration because they want to steal your money. They want to create legislation in the legislature that allows for private industry to bilk you out of tens of billions of dollars in every single community. They want to starve you out and add 3 inches of water at a time. Just above your head. And I got to tell you something. If you think that's bad, try living in the inner city. Try growing up below the poverty index where you have an opportunity to do exactly nothing. Because the deserts there for opportunity, education, and even food is so prevalent that you go to animalistic instincts and you just have to steal it in order to survive. And then that just feeds the judges that throw them in prison and perpetuate the school to prison pipeline while they're actually sitting there telling them, I'm trying to do this for your own good. Secretary Turner found, these are just a couple of examples. They have a DOGE task force at the HUD. We found $260 million in savings in contracts, $4 million that was in DEI contracts, which has nothing to do with the mission of HUD, and also an additional $1.9 billion in misplaced funds. Play it.
You know, we have a DOGE task force at HUD, and so we found $260 million in savings and contracts. $4 million of that was in DEI contracts that were for cultural transformation, which has nothing to do with the mission of HUD, and also an additional $1.9 billion in misplaced funds. And so, you know, part of being servant leaders like Brooke and I and our cabinet colleagues is to be good stewards of American taxpayers.
Think about the amount of waste that they're finding on just a couple, and they're only getting access to certain portions of it. Sean Duffy also confirmed the FAA is actually hiring more safety critical positions, and they're refocusing their efforts of the agency while removing unnecessary jobs. Let's go ahead and play it.
Just be clear. At FAA, we cut 352 people out of 46,000 people. That's 0.8% of the workforce. These were probationary workers. They were employed for less than a year at DOT. So these weren't the the old school, really ingrained employees of the DOT. And not only that, we kept all the critical safety positions. And we actually hired more positions into critical safety, like air traffic controllers. We hired more inspectors for things like pipelines and for aircraft. So again, we have a safety mission. But for people to say that because we cut 352 people out of 46,000, that's a risk to safety, give me a break. I mean, that's just plain politics as opposed to saying, let's cut the fat.
And they're not cutting enough of the fat. They're not cutting enough of the fat. You have one government employee for every 10 people in our country. Tell me how that works out. You square that up. Even square that up on the amount of roads that you have and the amount of money you pay. 56 cents on every dollar goes to some sort of tax. They put it in their pockets. They retire after 20 years, get a big old trophy that says that they did great. Well, they did absolutely fucking nothing. That's the reality of the government. And the people that do stand up end up in a place where they get choked out. Political corruption grows more quickly in the inner cities than it does legitimate opportunities. New case, you're absolutely right. Kristen says that I started out flipping burgers. Kristen, you're getting ready to have a conversation with someone in 4 minutes. So good to see. It just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop because the corruption is the way that it is supposed to be built in order to take opportunities from you. But the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick just announced plans to use the Postal Service to conduct census instead of wasting billions. He had this to say. Let's go ahead and play it.
So the concept was I'm sitting with the president, and the costs of the post office are like it loses $7 billion. And he said, can you do something with it? And I said, sure. So I saw him the next day, he goes, okay, what do you got? He gives me the whole 24 hours to figure it out. And I said, well, the Commerce Department does the census. And we spend $40 billion every 10 years doing the census. And that means we hire 625,000 people. And they go and they rent cars and gas and you pay them food. And you know what they do? They go to every household in America and count the people. What department do we already have that already employs 625,000 people? It's got cars, already has gas, goes to every household. Can you imagine saying to your postman, can you count the people in the house? What day could he do the census? Monday? Could he double check it on Tuesday? How about Wednesday? He goes every day. So we can only save $40 billion or $4 billion a year, and we'll do a better job. And you know what else we can do with the post office? They can go to your house when you have a baby and give you the form for Social Security. And the 20,000 Social Security offices that we have, we just don't need them. We actually can do real customer service. Go right to your house. Someone died, here's the forms, you can fill it out. I'll bring them to your house. Customer service. Why? Because we've got those people. Let's use the assets of the government to make us better and save us money. We can be smart, We're allowed.
Be smart. Save money. Maybe do some good. Or let's move away from this stuff and just get some funny stuff out. Let's just get to how stupid people are and talk about the retards. Can we talk about the retards for a minute? Canada just got a new name. This is breaking. This just happened. Let's go ahead and play it.
Good evening and welcome to the evening news this evening. Just moments ago, President-elect Donald Trump announced plans to annex Canada and rename it Gay North Dakota. The surprise announcement comes as Justin Trudeau announces his resignation from the Canadian Prime Ministership, presumably to make way for an American governorship. The pair had previously met back in November at the president's resort home at Mar-a-Lago. The pair had been expected to discuss Trump's tariff plans, but somehow ended with Trump agreeing to absorb Canada as the 51st state of the Union. His one demand, though, is that Canada be renamed to something very homosexual. Trump said in a press conference, "It'll be a wonderful addition to our country, Gay North Dakota. It's large, very large, a lot of trees and meese. Everyone says the plural of moose is moose, but they're wrong, it's meese. But we can't keep calling it Canada or people will think it's a real country. So we're going to call it Gay North Dakota. It's just like North Dakota, only much larger and gayer. Very, very gay. Not that I have a problem with the gays. I love the gays. But frankly, Canada is tremendously gay." Alternative names have been floated, such as Gay Minnesota, the Forgotten Realms, and the land that hasn't won the Stanley Cup since 1993. Trump is still insisting it has to be Gay North Dakota, though many Canadians remain unconvinced.
I mean, the whole thing is offensive, not about being gay, but just being called North Dakotan.
I'm sorry. What exactly are you sorry for?
I don't know. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry.
The Trump camp is bullish over the move. As Donald Trump Jr. stated, they'll go along with it. We're offering them the opportunity to finally become Americans, which is what they've always wanted. They'll be nice about it because they're Canadians, or should I say, gay North Dakotans. It's not all hostile, though. Trump has offered Justin Trudeau a leadership role, which would make Trudeau the first female governor of gay North Dakota. Coming up, Trump announces his plan to deport over 5,000 illegal immigrants in just one Honda Civic hatchback simultaneously. Good evening.
Okay. I don't even know how you, oh man, that's offensive to North Dakotans, I think. But Apollo, I don't actually know if that would work out. And first female governor of gay North Dakota. And the bad part is that the gay people don't even want to own any of that either. So Scott Jennings is a constant. He's on CNN as a correspondent, a guest there quite often, and there was a guy that was on there. His name's Tor. He's a Substack guy, and he has a Substack called Cultural Fries by Tor. This guy is a retard. He doesn't even oh man, Scott Jennings owned him. Play it. Just play it.
Can we be real for a moment that DOGE is not about cutting money, right? It's not about spending. It's about shrinking government so that it'll be too small to stop Trump with whatever else is in this plan.
Why would the government stop Trump? Isn't he the head of the government? You're saying the government would be too small to stop Trump. If Trump's the president, why would the government, the bureaucracy, be actively trying to stop him?
Because he is shredding the Constitution and creating an authoritarian dictatorship. That's why.
And no matter who was in office, I'm going to hold them accountable. But more importantly, I'm going to make sure the government is working for the American people.
Both of you all made an interesting point, which is that your view is that Trump is shredding the Constitution. I'd like to hear more about that. But that it seems to me that you all both believe that the unelected part of our government, the bureaucracy, has a responsibility to resist the political leadership. Is that your view?
That's not actually what we
not at
said.
all
We
what I
said they are
said.
upholding the Constitution, the principles of the Constitution, and at times
How
that we
is
have
Trump
seen,
shredding the Constitution?
My God, he's like.
I mean, seriously, do we have to give you a civics lesson that we have? I don't know we put all power in the executive
How is
branch,
holding the
the legislative branch, the FBI. Now we're in control of the military. We're silencing media. This is what you do in a dictatorship.
Are you suggesting that the president is not the commander in chief of the military?
I am suggesting that the president is going to put in charge somebody who is going to contravene the Constitution. And at some near point, this conversation will look very silly for you because it will be obvious. And right now, you're gaslighting. But when we get to the actual rubber of the road of this, it will be clear.
I'm interested in this conversation. He's going to put someone in charge who will contravene the Constitution. Like who? What do you mean by that? The president is in charge of the military, is he not? You said he's going to put someone in charge of the military?
The president is in charge of the military. That is how it works.
He was elected president. We, according to the Constitution, vest all executive authority in a president. And the concept that the military should be an independent agency or that the bureaucracy should resist the political leadership of this government is extraordinarily dangerous.
That's not what we said. That's literally not what we said.
I'm just repeating back to you your own.
He owned him, and you should have seen the guy's face. If you're on the audio version, you're not going to be able to see his face, but he was confused that the president is going to put someone in charge of the military. No. The president is in charge of the military. He is the commander in chief of the armed forces. He is the top of. If he were to press a little button and say, "Go over there and drop a MOB, a mother of all bombs, on them," he could. In a minute, he could. All right, we're going to end it with this. Last thing. President Trump just signed something, and it's a new order. He just signed the FAFO. And by the way, I just want to say I'm going to apologize up front. I saw you guys saying very clearly that I dropped the F word a couple times, and I did. And I just want to apologize. For those of you on the audio version, you didn't get to hear it because they bleeped it out. So I want to thank Apollo and also apologize for him having to go through it again. But President Trump did just sign a new order called the FAFO. Order, let's play it.
This executive order is the fuck around and find out order, also known as the FAFO. This order is for everyone who fucked around and will now find out.
Hold it. This is a good one. Is everybody listening?
All right. I'm going to pray us out. I want you to realize that Democrats are fools. Or they're demons. Those are the only two things, because you can't look at factual data and set aside feelings and come to a conclusion that the Democrats have done anything other than harm the people, betray them, steal from them, destroy them, genocide entire generations. Okay, you can't come to any other conclusion. There's no part of what they've done that has been better for anyone in their environment at all, ever. It has. The days of Democrats doing something good are over. It's over. They haven't done anything. And you can't actually replace that platform because there's no substance to it to replace it from or go to. And nobody wants to talk about it, but I'm talking about it with you. So I'm gonna pray us out. I am a little frustrated. And I think my frustration is, yeah, and by the way, go to Honor Bound USA, pick up your hat. I don't know where my hat is. It was here. Pick up your hat. Go to honorboundusa.com, pick up your hat, pick up your shirts. You know, I'm a little disappointed. I think we sold 60 or 70 on Friday of the shirts for Tina Peters, free Tina Peters. I want you guys, here's what I'll do. Buy the shirt, send me a picture of you wearing the shirt, and I will show everybody your picture of you wearing the free Tina Peters shirt out in public. You can send me a picture of it. Buy one for your friends, daughters, sisters. Get every one of your kids a shirt and put it on there. And let's support Tina in a lot of ways. It does not go to me. It doesn't put money in my pocket. It literally just supports Tina. Yeah, let's pray. Apollo, do you have anything else you want to say? Yeah, I'll be on with. Yeah, absolutely. I do want to say this. Jeff sent me something saying I want to pray it out. I don't have the capability where I am, Jeff, to do that. Can't do that. She was calling to tell me she's 5 days out of lockdown and will not be able to talk for 5 days due to refusal to go to the other pod incident. Okay. So no Tina. Joe, you need a good spanking. Okay, who's going to give me a spanking? Who's going to give me the spanking exactly? And is it a spanking I would like or not like? Just kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke. I don't want to get spanked. What else we got here? The only tatership we have the people should be interested in is growing in Idaho. Those are the tater heads with the steel toe boots, and Elon salutes. Elon salutes. Oh, loving salutes, I guess. See what else we got. Just reading some comments here. So Tina can't come in, can't call for 5 days. I got it. Is there a promo code? Do we have a promo code? Can we get a promo code? Probably should come up with a promo code. Let's see if we can get that handled as well. All right, let's pray, shall we? On the audio version, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Go over there, give us a 5-star review. Follow us, download it. Doesn't count if you don't download it. It only counts downloads. So watch us, listen to us on Rumble, on Untamed Nation. And we've got some major changes that are happening, right? We're at the end of getting those changes there. So make sure you follow us. You can also join us and follow us on X and everywhere else at Joe Oltman X or at, is it Untamed Joe? I can't tell. Hold on a second.
Joe Untamed.
Joe Untamed. At Joe Untamed. And then you can follow Apollo too. I don't know what his thing is. At Apollo. Wait.
At Apollo Pappas.
At Apollo Pappas. APOLLOPAPAS. Go over there and just follow us and give us your thoughts on things. So let's pray. Father God, thank you. We're so grateful for the opportunity to be here today and to be Captain Obvious to each other, to speak truth and honor the facts while setting aside feelings. Father, we know that many people live in the world of feelings and that it leads to just a radical amount of nonsense. But we also recognize that people's feelings are tied to things that have happened to them in the past, and that clouds their ability to see facts for what they are and to see those that are hurting them for who they are. So, Father, we're grateful to be open and to not be blind to the facts. And we're grateful, Father, for the ability to not sit on one side or another or wear a football jersey of one or the other, but just to follow you and to be involved in this restoration, restoring you to every part of our community. We also recognize, Father, there are so many ways. There's so many ways that our communities and our country and our society is broken. So, Father, I just ask you to give us the ability to see clearly what is in front of us and to work together to work the problem, to eliminate this chasm, this big divide that they keep creating on both sides of the aisle that favors them, doesn't favor the people. Help us, Father, we may concentrate on doing well, on doing good for our communities, and to stand up for the most disadvantaged among us. We do recognize, Father, that there are parts of what the Democrats say that are true, that there is no opportunity in the inner city of any consequence. And very few people in that environment are given the opportunity to be successful in education or given a proper education. We also recognize, Father, that this is this perpetual thing that they want to create. It allows for people in those environments to stay in a place where they become a victim of their circumstance or their environments. Father, I just ask you to give us the ability to work that problem and fix it. But fix it in such a way that we can let people know the reality of what is really happening and who is causing it inside of these environments. In other words, Father, I ask you to pull back the veil and allow people in their own communities that are being victimized to see who is doing it and to be able to work the problem and do something about it. Father, I ask you to put a special blessing over our leaders, President Trump, Elon Musk, Bobby Kennedy, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, a voice of reason that's been out there, and many others that are there that frankly are speaking that truth that needs to be heard. Not their truth, but the truth. I ask these things, Father, humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. We will see you tomorrow. Same bat station. It's going to be really a great day. I'm also going to be on with Steve Friend next week, and we're going to talk about some things related to the FBI. So, all right. God bless you. See you soon.